One of the ways that we're changed, according to the Bible, is by seeing glory. Seeing the glory of God more clearly, we are being changed from one degree of glory to the next. So I'm always on the lookout for ways in my Bible reading and in my study to see God more clearly, because I want to be changed into the likeness of Christ more fully. Well, years ago, I was reading a book called The Life of God in the Soul of Man by Henry Scougal, 17th century. And in it, there was this fateful sentence that became the origin or the root of this book. He said, I don't have the exact quote in my head, but I'll paraphrase it for you. He said, "You can tell the excellency of a soul by what it delights in." So if you delight in ugly and base and low, immoral things, the excellency of your soul is small or non-existent. But if your heart is taken up with glorious and beautiful and great things, then your soul is more excellent. So you can key in on the excellency of people's souls by what they take pleasure in. And I raised the question, would that be true of God? What if we studied what God delighted in as a way of knowing the excellency of God's soul, God's character? That's the origin of this book. This is a book that's an effort to just know God better, get into the mind and heart of God. And the approach is to ask, what are his pleasures? What does God take pleasure in? So I just scoured the Bible for all those places where it says that God delights in something. And the chapters are ones like the pleasure of God in his Son, his pleasure in all that he does, his pleasure in his creation, his pleasure in his fame, his pleasure in election, his pleasure in bruising the Son, his pleasure in doing good to all who hope in him, his pleasures in the prayers of the upright, his pleasure in the personal obedience of his people, and so on. So this is a pretty substantial book. I think of it in terms of the foundations of the book Desiring God. I wrote Desiring God first, and then I wrote this one after, but really this provides the roots and the foundations in the happy God of Christian hedonism.